Now let's learn our division facts for the 3 times table. 0 divided by 3 is 0. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2, because if we have 6 counters, we can make 2 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3, because if we have 9 counters, we can make 3 groups of 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 24 divided by 3 is 8. 27 divided by 3 is 9. 30 divided by 3 is 10. 33 divided by 3 is 11. And 36 divided by 3 is 12. Now let's learn our division facts for the 4 times table. 0 divided by 4 is 0. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2, because if we have 8 counters, we can make 2 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3, because if we have 12 counters, we can make 3 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 32 divided by 4 is 8. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 40 divided by 4 is 10. 44 divided by 4 is 11. And 48 divided by 4 is 12. Now let's learn our division facts for the 8 times table. 0 divided by 8 is 0. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 16 divided by 8 is 2, because if we have 16 counters, we can make 2 groups of 8 or 8 groups of 2. 24 divided by 8 is 3, because if we have 24 counters, we can make 3 groups of 8 or 8 groups of 3. 32 divided by 8 is 4. 40 divided by 8 is 5. 48 divided by 8 is 6. 56 divided by 8 is 7. 64 divided by 8 is 8. 72 divided by 8 is 9. 80 divided by 8 is 10. 88 divided by 8 is 11. And 96 divided by 8 is 12. Now here we have some division questions, and it's really important to understand that division can be 2 different things. It can be grouping, so putting things into groups, or it can be sharing. Here we're going to look at grouping. So for our first question, we have 12 divided by 4. If we're grouping, what this question means is how many groups of 4 can we make from 12? So here we have 12 counters. We can make 1 group of 4, a second group of 4, and a third group of 4. So because we can make 3 groups, our answer is 3. Now we have 20 divided by 5, so we have 20 counters. How many groups of 5 can we make from 20 counters? We can make 1, 2, 3, 4 groups, so our answer is 4. Now we have 18 divided by 2, so we have 18 counters. How many groups of 2 can we make? We can make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups, so our answer is 9. Now one way to divide is to count from the number that we're dividing by to the number that we're dividing, so counting from our divisor to our dividend. Counting in 4s, we have 4, 8, 12, and because we made 3 jumps of 4, we know that our answer is 3. Notice division problems can be read backwards as multiplications. So 12 divided by 4 is 3 because 3 times 4 is 12. Now for 20 divided by 5, we could count in steps of 5 until we get to 20. So counting in 5s, we have 5, 10, 15, 20. So altogether we've made 4 jumps of 5 to get to 20, so that's why our answer is 4. 20 divided by 5 is 4 because 4 times 5 is 20. And then we had 18 divided by 2, and what we can do is count in steps of 2 until we get to 18. We can count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So altogether we've made 9 jumps, so our answer is 9. 18 divided by 2 is 9 because 9 times 2, 9 groups of 2 make 18. Now we have some division questions, and we know that one way to divide is by grouping. So for 12 divided by 4, we could make groups of 4 from 12 counters. But the other way to divide is by sharing. And what this means is that we're going to have 4 groups. We're going to share 12 counters between 4 groups. So if we split these 12 counters into 4 groups, you can see that we have 3 counters in each group, so our answer is 3. Now we have 20 divided by 5. So if we make 5 groups from our 20 counters, how many counters will we have in each group? Well, we'll have 4 counters in each of our groups, so our answer is 4. Notice when we divide, we need to have the same number of counters in each group. We can't have one group with 5 counters and another with 3, because with division, we need to share equally. Now, 18 divided by 2. So if we make 2 groups from 18 counters, how many will we have in each of our groups? Well, we'll have 9 counters in each group, so our answer is 9. And notice, division is the opposite to multiplication. So 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 5 is 20, and 9 times 2 is 18. Now here we have some missing number division and multiplication problems. But these first 2 problems aren't really missing number problems at all. And that's because all we have on this side of the equal sign is an answer box. And it doesn't matter whether the equal sign comes at the start of a calculation, like it does here, or at the end, like it usually does, we do the same thing. So 7 times 5 is 35. Now something equals 14 divided by 2. Again, all we have on this side of the equal sign is an answer box, and 14 divided by 2 is 7, because 7 times 2 is 14, so that's our answer. Now, 4 times something equals 32. Here we have a missing number multiplication, and whenever we have a missing number in a multiplication problem, we can always divide to find our missing number. So here we just need to work out 32 divided by 4. That's 8 because 8 times 4 is 32, so our missing number is 8. Now something times 3 equals 27. Again, it's a missing number multiplication, so we can divide to find our missing number. 27 divided by 3 is 9, because 9 times 3 is 27, so our missing number is 9. Now, something divided by 8 equals 6. Here we have a missing number division, and in this question, it's the first number or the dividend that's missing. Now, division problems can be read backwards as multiplications. So to find our missing dividend, we can work out 6 times 8. That's 48, which means that 48 divided by 8 is 6. And finally, 24 divided by something equals 4. Well, here it's the second number or the divisor that's missing. And if the divisor is missing, we still use division to find our missing number. We can work out 24 divided by 4. That's 6 because 6 times 4 is 24, so our missing number is 6. 24 divided by 6 equals 4. So notice, when it's multiplication, we can always use division to find our missing number. But if we have a missing number in a division problem, it depends on whether it's the first or the second number that's missing. If it's the first number, then we can use multiplication to find the missing number, because division problems can be read backwards as multiplication problems. But if it's the second number or the divisor that's missing, we still use division to find our missing number. So now let's take a closer look at some of these questions. We had something times 3 equals 27. To work out our answer, we divided 27 by 3 and got 9. Now what we can do on a number line is count up in steps of 3 until we get to 27. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. And notice that we've made 9 jumps altogether. So that's how we know our missing number must be 9. Now we can make a number family triangle out of these numbers. So we have 9 and 3, the numbers that we multiply, on the bottom, and then 27, so our answer, on top. And this number family triangle can tell us 4 different calculations. It tells us that 9 times 3 is 27, and it also tells us that 3 times 9 is 27, because remember, we can multiply numbers in any order to get the same answer. But it also gives us 2 division facts. It tells us that 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 27 divided by 9 is 3. So if we divide the top number by one of the bottom numbers, we'll get the other bottom number. Another question we had was something divided by 8 equals 6. We know that division problems can be read backwards as multiplication problems. So to find our missing number, we worked out that 6 times 8 is 48. Now what we could have done here is count up in steps of 8, or count up 6 steps of 8. We can count 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. So because we've made 6 jumps of 8 and got to 48, we know that that's our missing number. Again, we can make a number family triangle using these numbers. We can have our dividend, so the number that we're dividing, on top, and then our divisor and our quotient below. And again, this number family triangle gives us 4 calculations. It tells us that 6 times 8 is 48, and that 8 times 6 is 48 as well. It tells us that 48 divided by 8 is 6, and that 48 divided by 6 is 8. Now another question we had was 24 divided by something equals 4. So to find our missing number, we divided 24 by 4, and because that's 6, we know that 24 divided by 6 must be 4. Now on a number line, to show this calculation, what we can do is count up in steps of 4 until we get to 24. So we can count 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So we've counted in steps of 4, and because it took us 6 jumps to get to 24, we know that our missing number must be 6. Again, we can make a number family triangle from these numbers. Again, we put the dividend on top, the number we're dividing, and our answer below. And again, this gives us 4 calculations. It tells us that 6 times 4 is 24, and that 4 times 6 is 24. It tells us that 24 divided by 4 is 6, and that 24 divided by 6 is 4. For these questions, we need to divide a multiple of 10 by a single digit number. Remember, a multiple of 10 is a number in the 10 times table, so a number that ends in a 0. First, we have 80 divided by 2. Well, we know that 8 divided by 2 is 4, because 4 times 2 is 8. So our answer is 40. That's because 8 divided by 2 is 4, but if we have an end 0 in our dividend, we need an end 0 in our answer as well. So 80 divided by 2 is 40. And that makes sense, because 80 is 8 tenths. So if we divide 8 tenths by 2, we get 4 tenths. So now we have 150 divided by 3. We know that 15 divided by 3 is 5, so our answer is 50. That's because 15 divided by 3 is 5, because 5 times 3 is 15. But again, if we have an end 0 in our dividend, we need an end 0 in our answer as well. Now 160 divided by 4. That's 40, because 16 divided by 4 is 4, and then we just need our end 0. And finally, we have 210 divided by 3. Our answer is 70, because 21 divided by 3 is 7, and again we need an end 0 in our answer. So let's take a closer look at these questions. First, we had 80 divided by 2. With 80, we have 8 tenths, and because we're dividing by 2, we can share these 8 tenths into 2 groups. When we do that, we have 4 tenths in each of our groups, so that's why our answer is 40. Then we had 150 divided by 3. So with 150, we have 105 tenths. But we can't share out this 100, because when we divide, we need to make equal groups. But what we can do is exchange our 100 counter for 10 tens, because 10 tens has the same value as 100. So now we have 15 tens, and we can share out those tens to give us 5 tens in each group, and 5 tens is the same as 50, so that's our answer. Then, for our last question, we had 160 divided by 4. 160 means we have 106 tens, but again, we can't share out our 100 counter because we need to make equal groups. So instead, we exchange 100 for 10 tens, and that gives us 16 tens altogether. When we share those out, we get 4 tens in each group, so that's why our answer is 40. And then we had 210, so that's 2 hundreds and 1 10, and we were dividing by 3, so we can share these counters into 3 groups. But to do that, we first need to exchange. We can't have 100 in the first group, then 100 in the second group, but only 10 in the third group, because when we divide, we need to make equal groups. So instead, we can exchange each of our 100 counters for 10 tens. That gives us 21 tens, and we can share those out to give us 7 tens in each group, so that's 70. So here we were using place value counters, but we could also show the divisions that we completed using base 10 blocks. So with 80, we have 8 tens, and for this first question, we were dividing by 2, so we can share these blocks between 2 groups. We have 4 tens in each group, so that's 40. Then we had 150, so that's 105 tens. But we can't share out our 100 block, because when we divide, we need to make equal groups. Instead, what we can do is exchange our 100 for 10 tens, and that gives us 15 tens to share out. We're sharing into 3 groups because we're dividing by 3, and we get 5 tens in each group, so our answer is 50. Then we had 160, so that's 106 tens divided by 4, so we're sharing these out into 4 groups. We can't share out our 100 because when we divide, we need equal groups. So instead, we split our 100 into 10 more tens, and then we can share out those 16 tens. When we do that, we get 4 tens in each of our groups, so our answer is 40. And finally, let's look at 210 divided by 3. We can't share out our hundreds because we need to make equal groups. We can't have a 100 block in 2 of our groups and a 10 block in our other group. So instead, we split our hundreds into 10 tens, and then we have 21 tens to share out between our 3 groups. When we share out our tens, we get 7 tens in each group, so that's why our answer is 70. So that's why we can ignore the 0, and for this question work out that 21 divided by 3 is 7. Then, because we have an end 0 in our dividend, we need an end 0 in our answer. Because we're not sharing out 21, we're sharing out 21 tens. So our answer is 7 tens. So here we have some division questions, and we know that one way to divide is to count up in steps of the divisor until we get to the dividend. But for this first question, it would take us a very long time to count up in steps of 3 until we got to 78. So instead, what we can use is chunking. Starting at 0, we know that 10 times 3 is 30. So instead of jumping 3 each time, we can make one big jump of 10 times 3 to get to 30. But 30 still isn't very close to 78. So what we can do here is make another jump of 10 times 3, so add another 30, and 30 plus 30 is 60. So now we're getting closer to 78. So what we can do is just count on 3 each time, so we have 63, 66, 69, 72, 75, and then we've got to 78. So what we do now is count the number of jumps that we made. We made 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 jumps. So our answer is 26. Now we have 260 divided by 5. Again, it would take us a very long time to count up in steps of 5, so what we can do is make one jump of 10 times 5, so one jump of 50. But 50 still isn't very close to 260, so we can make another jump of 10 times 5 to get to 100, then another to get to 150, another to get to 200, another to get to 250, and now we're close to 260. We just need another 5 to get to 255, and then one more jump takes us to 260. So altogether we've jumped 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 51, 52. So that's our answer. And finally, we have 144 divided by 4. Rather than counting in steps of 4, we can count in steps of 10 times 4. So the first jump of 10 times 4 takes us to 40, then another 10 lots of 4 will take us to 80, and another 10 lots of 4 will take us to 120. Now if we jumped another 10 lots of 4, that would take us to 160, but that would be too many. So now we just need to count on in 4s. So we have 124, 128, 132, 136, 140, and finally we get to 144. So we counted 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 jumps, so that's our answer. So let's take a closer look at these questions. First, we had 78 divided by 3. First, we made a jump of 10 times 3, so we can show 3 tens. Then, we made another jump of 10 times 3, so we can show another 3 tens. And then we made 6 jumps of 3, so we can show 6 ones on each row. And you can see that altogether we have 26 in each row because we have 2 tens and 6 ones. And if we regrouped these counters, we would have 78. Now we only have 6 tens, but remember we could regroup 10 of these ones to make another 10, and then we would have 8 ones left. Then we had 260 divided by 5. We made 5 jumps of 10 times 5, so we can show 5 tens in each row. And then we made 2 jumps of 5, so we can show 2 ones in each row, and that gives us 52 in each line, or on each row. But if we regrouped the counters that we have here, we would be able to make 260. Because remember, we can regroup 10 tens into 100 and 10 ones into a 10. Then we had 144 divided by 4. We made 3 jumps of 10 times 4, so we can show 3 tens in each row. And remember, we've got 4 rows because we're dividing by 4. Then we made 6 jumps, so we can show 6 ones in each row, so that there are 36 in each row. And if we regrouped these counters, there would be 144 altogether. But now let's look at a quicker way to do this, a quicker way to divide by chunking. So first we had 78 divided by 3. We can start in the same way, jumping 10 times 3 to get to 30, then another 10 times 3 to get to 60. But now you might know that 5 times 3 is 15. So if we jump 5 times 3, we can add 15 to 60, and 60 plus 15, so 60 plus 5 times 3, takes us to 75. And then we just need one more jump to get to our dividend, to get to 78. So that's 10, 20, 25, 26 jumps altogether. Now 260 divided by 5. Here we're doing the same thing. We can jump 10 times 5 to get to 50, another 10 times 5 to get to 100, then another 10 times 5, and another 10 times 5, and then another 10 times 5. So now we've got to 250. But we need to get to 260, so we need 10 more. Well, 2 times 5 is 10, so if we make a jump of 2 times 5, that will take us to 260. So altogether, we've jumped 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 52, so that's our answer. And now 144 divided by 4. If we make a jump of 10 times 4, that takes us to 40. Another 10 times 4, so another 40, takes us to 80. And another 10 times 4 takes us to 120. Now we know that adding another 10 times 4 would be too many, because that would take us to 160. But you might know that 5 times 4 is 20, and if we add 20 to 120, that takes us to 140. So making a jump of 5 times 4 means that we can add 20 to these numbers on the bottom, because 5 times 4 is 20. So now from 140, we just need one more jump of 4 to get to 144. So altogether we've jumped 10, 20, 30, 35, 36. So that's our answer. Now we need to divide using short division. First, we have 68 divided by 2. So we can set the question out like this, with our divisor on the left. Now we start by dividing digits in larger place values. So first, we need to divide the 6 in our tens by 2. Well, 6 is in the 2 times table, and because 3 times 2 is 6, we know that 3 must be the tens digit of our answer. So now we can move on to our ones digit. 8 divided by 2 is 4, because 4 times 2 is 8. So our answer is 34. Now we have 72 divided by 3, so we set the question out in the same way. But here, our first digit is a 7, and 7 isn't in the 3 times table. So what we need to do here is think of a number in the 3 times table that's as close to 7 as possible, but not more than 7. Well, 6 is in the 3 times table, and 2 times 3 is 6, so 2 is the tens digit of our answer. But 2 times 3 is only 6, and we have 7. To get to 7 from 6, we need one more. So that tells us that we have a remainder of 1 when we're dividing the tens digit, and we write the remainder 1 in front of the next digit. So 7 divided by 3 is 2 remainder 1, because 2 times 3 is 6, and then we need one more to get to 7. So now, because we have a 1 in front of our ones digit, we have 12 divided by 3. That's 4, because 4 times 3 is 12, so our answer is 24. Now 96 divided by 4. 9 isn't in the 4 times table, so we need to think of a number in the 4 times table that's as close to 9 as possible, but not more than 9. Well, 8 is in the 4 times table, and because 2 times 4 is 8, we can write 2 in our answer line. But 2 times 4 is 8, and we need one more to get to 9, so we write 1 in front of the next digit. So now we have 16 divided by 4, which is 4 because 4 times 4 is 16, so that gives us 24. And finally, we have 123 divided by 3. So our first digit is a 1, but 1 is less than 3. So when the first digit is less than the divisor, what we can do is take two digits together. So 12 divided by 3 is 4 because 4 times 3 is 12. And because 4 times 3 is exactly 12, 12 is in the 3 times table, we don't have a remainder to put in front of our ones digit. Instead, we just have 3 divided by 3, which is 1, giving us an answer of 41. So let's take a closer look at these questions. First, we had 68 divided by 2. First, we divided our 6 tens by 2, and that gave us 3, because we can see that we have 3 tens in each group. Then we divided our 8 ones by 2, and doing that meant that we got 4 ones in each group, so 4 as the ones digit of our answer, 34. Then we had 72 divided by 3. First, we needed to divide our 7 tens. Now we can have 2 tens in each group, but we can't share out this 10 here, because with division we need to make equal groups. So because we have 2 tens in each group, 2 is the tens digit of our answer, but then we have 1 10 that we can't share out, so we write 1 in front of the next digit along. And the reason why we do that is because we can exchange our 1 10 for 10 ones. And you can see that when we do that, we now have 12 ones. And that makes sense because in the method, we're now going to divide 12 by 3. So if we share out our 12 ones, we can share out all of those ones, and we have 4 ones in each group because 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that gives us an answer of 24. We have 2 tens and 4 ones in each of our groups. Now 96 divided by 4. We start by sharing out our 9 tens. We can share out 8 of our tens, but we can't share out this 10 here because with division we need equal groups. So we have 2 tens in each group, so we can write 2 in our answer line. But remember, 2 times 4 is 8, and we need 1 more to get to 9, so we write 1 in front of the next digit. And the reason why we do that is because we can exchange our 1 remaining 10 into 10 ones, so that gives us 16 ones to share out altogether. When we share out our ones, we get 4 ones in each group, so that's why our answer is 24. And finally, we had 123 divided by 2. Now we can't share out our 100, so remember what we did was take the first 2 digits together, and we can do that when the first digit is less than the divisor. The reason why we can do that is because here we can exchange our 100 for 10 tens, and when we do that, that gives us 12 tens to share out altogether. Now we can share out all 12 of those tens with 4 tens in each group, so that's 4 as the tens digit of our answer. And we don't have anything to write in front of our ones digit because we've been able to share out all of our tens. So now we just share out our 3 ones, and because we have 1 1 in each group, 1 is our ones digit and our answer is 41.